Governor Haslam, distinguished former governors, Senator, wonderful Tennessee friends and neighbors. What a blessing to be here today in the great volunteer state of Tennessee that is cradled in the arms of our beloved America. Aren't we fortunate? I had such a wonderful visit just recently with the distinguished Commissioner of the Department of Transportation, John Schroer. We had a little bit of a melancholy sort of a visit. But before I go into that just briefly, I want to acknowledge the presence of the person who is utterly responsible for me being a Tennessean, and that's the former First Lady of Tennessee, Betty Dunn. Betty, stand up. Oh, you've heard of the power behind the throne? There's the power behind the throne. Well, things have changed. I look out, as I commented to Governor Sundquist a few moments ago, at some beloved faces, and I observe that they are aging very gracefully. But it makes me wonder why I don't change. I will say this. When I lean over these days to tie my shoes, I look around to see if there's anything else I can do while I'm down there. But in talking with the commissioner, we made some interesting observations. My first complete budget offering to the legislature in 1971 for fiscal 71-72 totaled $1,100,000,000 and change. The commissioner observed that today, 41 years later, his department's budget is $1.7 billion. What a remarkable transition, with a state budget today of $34 billion. That says so much. It says so much about progress. I couldn't begin to imagine how many warm meals were on supper tables all across this area because of this great project which we celebrate today. But it has made an enormous contribution. And I want to compliment the governors here who truly were responsible for moving this ahead. The Better Roads program has been such an outstanding contribution. And I'll close now with just one final thought, and that is, we're standing on the threshold of great change in our country. No state in America is poised to be more of a contributor to the quality of life in our nation than the state of Tennessee, and it's up to us to make it happen. Thank you very much.
This is a great day for Tennessee. If you believe in creating jobs, have safe highways and roads, this will lead to that. And the tourism and the new industries that are going to come as a result of this. We have the best roads in the country, in my opinion. And we've done it because of pay-as-you-go. We've done it because of good planning and good execution. I want to thank all the employees, past and present, in the Department of Transportation, because you all made it happen. It's, I think I need to introduce the Speaker of my House, Martha Sundquist. Please stand. I used to say that until one day I turned around, there was Speaker Nafee. He did laugh, but I'm not sure he meant it. There's not much to say about a beautiful day, perfect day in so many ways. But I do need to say this, that we do face problems in every state because tax gas tax from federal government is going down as cars are getting more mileage. So we can't turn to the federal government as much as we have in the past unless the Congress, and I hope they'll figure out a way to. Jimmy Duncan, our congressman from the 2nd District, is on that committee, and I know he's aware of the problem and is working toward it. And one thing about Congressman Duncan is he's not known for raising taxes or spending a lot of money, but he's in a key position and he will help us, I know. One thing that I would suggest we do, and I congratulate you, Commissioner, on the changes you've made that have allowed this to finally be completed. But I think we have to re-regulate some of these silly, expensive regulations that cause the cost to go up and the delays to be made. So we need to help that with some changes in Congress, and I'm satisfied the state of Tennessee will follow suit or maybe even go ahead. And also, I know I won't make the attorneys real happy when I say that, but we've just got to reduce the number of lawsuits that we have. All of these things cost so much money. And you know what? Think of how many roads that since this project started could have been built if we didn't have these delays, if we didn't have the regulations that we have to follow too often. Tennessee, I think, is known as a state that has a lot of common sense. And I think the common sense in Washington, I'm not talking about our delegation, but there are others who are guilty of this. Those changes have to be made. In the meantime, I want to say thanks and congratulations to everyone who's had a part in this completion. It's safe roads, lives will be saved, tourism will be expanded, jobs will be created with new industries. When you build a road, the investment comes back many-fold over. So it's a privilege for me to be here with my former colleagues and with you. God bless. Thank you very much.
Governor Haslam, thank you for inviting me today. Bill Haslam has a gift for spreading credit around, which is one big reason why he's been so successful in his first 2 years as governor, and I'm grateful for it. So thank you very much, Governor. And it's wonderful to be with Governor Dunn and Governor Sundquist. You know, having a lot of former governors around and a real one at one time presents some dilemmas. I can remember when I was on a platform and Senator Baker was introducing me, and he got carried away a little bit, and he said, Lamar Alexander is the greatest governor the state of Tennessee has ever had. And he turned around, he saw Winfield was sitting right behind him. He said, Lamar Alexander is the greatest governor Tennessee has ever had since Winfield Dunn. So there's a way out of these dilemmas. And the mention of Governor Bredesen and Governor McWhorter, I think, is very, very important. One of my favorite stories in life is what Ned McWhorter said when I was elected governor, and I was about the only Republican in the state capitol. Everybody else was a Democrat. And Bob Mueller and the other reporters went up to Speaker McWhorter and said, what are you going to do with this new young Republican governor? And Ned said, I'm going to help him. Because if he succeeds, the state succeeds. And what you see here today is about 30 years of cooperation among Democrats and Republicans, and you see the result of that kind of effort. I would like to tell you two stories about State Route 840. One about why it was built and one about why it was paid for. And this is just from my vantage point. There are many other stories, but why it was built. In the 1985 or so, I was spending a lot of time with the General Motors people working on trying to get Saturn to come here. And I was also beginning to understand that as important as the Nissan and Saturn assembly plants are, they are thousands of jobs. The real payoff are the suppliers. They're tens of thousands of jobs. So I asked the General Motors people, how can we recruit the suppliers since they're all up in the Midwest? And they said, well, you really don't recruit them, we just locate them. I said, well, how do you locate them? They said, we do it with a computer. I said, what do you tell the computer to do? First thing we tell the computer to do is to find an intersection on a very high quality four-lane highway system because our suppliers want to be able to get their parts to the assembly plant. Well, from my point of view, that's where the 1986 road program that we call Better Roads came from. It was about jobs. There were some crucial roads all across the state. Pellissippi Parkway was part of it. The governor dedicated a new state park the other day along what we call I-26 from Johnson City to North Carolina. There's a road from Saudi Daisy to Dayton, Noncona Parkway in Memphis. All of those were part of it. But it was 100 new miles of interstate quality highway and to improve our existing road system after we'd already had two other road programs in the years before. It added 100 miles of interstate quality highway to about 1,037 miles that were existing. The federal government wouldn't add any interstate miles at that time, so we said we'll just do it ourselves. And because of the bipartisan support, even though it only passed the Senate by one vote, I would say to my Republican friends, every single Republican, if my memory is right, voted for it and the money to pay for it. Our state roads had become the best four-lane highway system in the country by the early 90s. And today, we have auto jobs in 85 of the 90 counties of Tennessee where we had almost none 30 years ago. And while Governor Dunn didn't say much about it, it was under his administration that the idea for 840 was first proposed. Now, the last story is how it was paid for. Paul Deggs is here, the highway engineer. He was testifying before the Senate Environment Committee, which I'm on, Environment and Public Works Committee last year, and Senator Barbara Boxer, the chairman, was trying to loan him some money. She was trying to say, we have federal money here because we're out of money in Washington, but she was wanting to do that. And finally, he said very respectfully, Senator Boxer, or Madam Chairman, we don't want to borrow any money to build roads in Tennessee from the federal government. We have zero road debt. There was a stunned silence. And Senator Boxer said something like, I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that. Of course, she wouldn't, being from California, because most states, when they have a big idea about building roads, say, well, let's take the easy route, let's just borrow it and assume somebody else will do it later. Well, we thought about that back in 1986, but on both sides of the aisle, people said, no, that's not the right way to do it. We pay as you go. So we raised the money to do it. We said, let's let the truckers pay about a third of it. Let's let the tourists pay about a third of it. Let's let the rest of us who use the highway pay about a third of it. And so we borrowed no money, and so as Commissioner Schroer said, and we saved millions of dollars of interest, and State Route 840 has been built with no federal dollars, no state debt, no toll roads, and Tennessee's gas tax today is still 6 cents less than the national average. And we've avoided wasting millions of dollars in interest payments over the last 30 years, so that the money that comes from our gas tax goes for roads, and it also goes, as many county commissioners who are here today understand, it helps keep the property tax down in counties. So looking ahead 30 years, I expect State Route 840 to relieve congestion, especially for Rutherford County, but also for the other counties, to be a magnet for jobs with new intersection sites for especially auto suppliers. I'm delighted that this part of it is going to be a scenic highway with no billboards, and I hope you'll make an effort to keep it that way. And let me give finally my congratulations to Governor Haslam, not just for including a lot of us in this day, and to the commissioner, but to Governor Haslam and the many state and local officials of both political parties who've maintained over a long term this pay-as-you-go policy, which has attracted jobs, saved money, avoided debt, and given us one of the best, if not the best, four-lane highway system in the country. Thank you.
It is really, really good to be here. I had some friends in town last night for the CMA Awards, and as we're leaving, and they were appropriately starstruck as all the entertainers and TV stars, et cetera, walking out, and I kind of nonchalantly got in the car and said, just another night in Nashville. And I wanted to say the same thing about today. You're out on a gorgeous fall day, surrounded by colors, getting ready to open a brand new road, and really what I think is one of the prettiest places in the whole world. And I'm tempted to say just another day in Tennessee. and all the great things here. I also, some of us got to, the department came up with the idea of having a bike ride on the road before we opened. I think Commissioner Nicely had done the same thing with a road race in Knoxville when they reopened I-40 through downtown Knoxville. So I think we kind of borrowed on that idea and had a ride. But for all of you who tweeted about how my legs looked in bicycle shorts, I saw that. Hey, I'll wrap up. Let me just, at the end of the day, what's the message today? I think there's three. There's three messages that I'll make and then I'll sit down. The first is this. It does take a long time to make big things happen in government. There's some good reasons for that and some not so good reasons. But it does take a while to make big things happen, and all of us need to keep that in mind for the times when we need to push it faster and the times we need to realize that it's not our money and we need to go appropriately slow. The second thing is Tennessee has a wonderful history. Sitting up here and looking, you might think, well, these were all Republican governors who did this, but it's not true. Obviously, Governor McWhorter played a huge role in picking up from Lamar's idea and Governor Dunn's vision and pushed it through and kept the funding going at a critical time, and obviously did the same as Speaker. And then Governor Bredesen played a key role as well. And I was in New York recently making a presentation for the state, and somebody said, well, what's in the water in Tennessee? You all seem to get a lot done without some of the big fireworks and the big fights that other people have. And I honestly feel like we've been blessed to have people who are committed to, regardless of party, and party comes into play, but getting past that and saying, what's the right answer? And it's an honor to be on the stage with each of these three governors. We all miss Governor McWhorter, and we're sad that Governor Bredesen couldn't be here today, but I want to thank them, all of them. I tell people all the time that being governor is like being in a relay race. You don't start from a starting line like in a 100-yard dash. You get the baton from the people that came behind you. Sometimes you like where you got that baton in a race. Sometimes you don't. You're on the outside lane. But in this race, I actually feel like I got the baton at the end of a long race, and I got it about 5 yards before the finish line. I just got to be the guy that ran through the tape. But it really is remarkable, the people, and I want to thank all the Commissioner Kelly, Johnson, Saltzman, Nicely, and Schroer for all playing such a big role in this. It is wonderful to do. And the last message is this. So the first is, it takes a while. The second is, we can get beyond some of the fights that other people have to make progress happen. The last is this. There's another big debate that goes on all the time. It's about, can we really develop and be a business center and not lose those things that are most valuable to us? One of the things that makes Tennessee Tennessee is we love the way it looks. That's right. And we love the fact that we've been blessed with such a great environment. But we also love that this is a vibrant business hub. Our economy's outgrowing the nation, our population's outgrowing the nation, the cost of living and taxes are staying flat or going down, but average incomes are going up because people are seeing this is a great place to live and work and do business. Right. We think we can do all those things. We think this can be the most dynamic business location in the country, but we can keep all those things that make us proud to be Tennesseans. So let this be a lesson of how that can be done. Thank you all very, very much for your part, and we look forward to having this be another vital cog in making Tennessee the very best place to live, work, and play in the whole country. Thanks.